the 1989 Terminator game that never released, and more coming up on today's episode of the latest in tech news. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the latest in tech news. My name is Taylor Merrick, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that, well, you're not missing out on the latest news. We do this Monday to Friday, and seeing as how today's Monday, starting off the week crisp, clean, smooth, and for probably most of you, you're like, it's Monday, I hate it, but we have some fun tech news, so we'll be getting into that, and hold off on that like button until you get to a part of the show that you actually like. Speaking of what's to like, well, apparently a 1989 promo that finally was released shows the Terminator NES game that never was. We'll be getting into that. We'll also be taking a look at researchers developing ultrafast semiconductors and what that means for, well, a couple interesting industries. Also, we'll be taking a look at Steve Wozniak saying most people should leave Facebook, and we'll be getting into his reason on that. Also, we'll be taking a look at, well, some Stadia updates coming from Google, including multiplayer, ordering details, things of that nature, important stuff you may like or not like, to be determined. We'll also be taking a look at IBM patents a watch that unfolds into a full tablet. Not kidding you, we'll be taking a look at that. Definitely. In gaming news, we'll be taking a look at, well, the new Call of Duty Black Ops 4 details and the coming zombie apocalypse. And finally, we'll be taking a look at, well, apparently a lot of you guys playing Fortnite are having a problem with the rubber duck challenge. So Fortnite developers are saying that they'll be making it a little bit easier. But before we can get into all of that, did you know that Pokemon Red and Blue, the game released in 1998, turns out in an interview with the programmer, composer Junichi Masuda, he actually programmed a good portion of the game and composed the music, he stated that the source data for the game was almost lost because the computer that stored the data suffered from a nasty crash. Yeah, the most favorite game of Pokemon players of all time almost never came to be because computer almost crashed. Well, in case you didn't know that, now you know. Alright, moving right along to today in tech history, being that today is July 8th, 2019. On this day in 1957, Control Data Corporation, an early pioneer in the field of supercomputers, is incorporated. CDC's most notable employee was Seymour Cray, who during the 1960s developed for CDC the fastest computers in the world at that time. However, in 1972, Seymour Cray left CDC to form his own company, Cray Research, which then took the title of creating the world's fastest computers. So, in case you're wondering who the guy was behind faster and better computers, this was one of them. Also, on this day in history in 1946, the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School of Electrical Engineering, say that name 2 times fast, launched an inspiring summer school on computing that stimulated construction of stored program computers at universities and research institutions. This free public set of lectures inspired the EDSAC, BINAC, and later IAS machine clones like the AVIDAC. Essentially, it was a special computer school, and, well, you probably don't know this, probably before your time, but yeah, in case you didn't know, well, now you know. Let's head on over to today's feature story. The year was 1989. The famous line had just been quoted, "I'll be back," was said, and while everybody expected a video game to show up on the NES, it never happened. You see, the very first game based on the Terminator was supposed to be an NES side-scroller from Sunsoft. It never really panned out that way. The company lost the movie license and reworked the game into what would become Journey to Silius. However, evidence of what that game looked like was seemingly lost to the ages. Until now, Gaming Alexandria has obtained a promo video Sunsoft made to advertise the Terminator game at Winter CES 1989. Yes, CES was going on that long, guys. offering a rare peek at what the title was supposed to look like. The game hadn't been in development for long before the CES promo tape was ready, and Sunsoft couldn't show much more than a splash screen and some cut scenes, but that didn't stop the studio from dishing out the hyperbole, though. It claimed this was the first game to include, quote, movie footage and interactive graphics technology, and bragged that this would be, quote, the most amazingly lifelike home console game you'd ever seen. No one was going to mistake this for the 1984 movie, of course, but Sunsoft was clearly hoping that Cinematic would sell copies. The developer reportedly lost the license after the game basically abandoned the movie plot. Instead of Sarah Connor escaping the T-800 with the help of Kyle Reese, it had Reese fighting the Terminators in a Skynet-controlled future. And, well, you may know the rest of the story. Sunsoft's big movie tie-in at the time would be Batman, and the first Terminator game was Bethesda's 1990 first-person PC title. The first console games didn't surface until 1992, well after T2 Judgment Day hit theaters. Still, it's interesting to imagine what would have happened had Sunsoft kept the license. While the NES release might not have blown anyone away, Sillius really wasn't a timeless classic lost to the ages, thank goodness. It might have set a different tone for Terminator games going forward. And we got a link to the video here, but we're not going to be watching the video today, so if you guys are interested in watching the video that we have or reading more of the articles, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net, and in there you'll have the show notes. You can click on it and enjoy to your heart's content. What are my thoughts on this? Well, 1989. First Terminator video game that got canceled. Well, it could have been very, very different. That's what I will say. Impressive, yes. And I know what you guys are thinking. Seriously, the Consumer Electronics Show has been around for that long? Yeah. Going on over 3 decades. It's amazing, isn't it? I probably shouldn't have done that. Sorry, guys. But, yeah. The game could have been quite different. Just wanted to let you guys in on a sneak peek of retro games back in the ages. I don't know. I like looking at games in the past and current and future planned games. It helps bring a broader scope to, you know, the games and how everything developed to the point of where it is today, and actually seeing the influence of how different games and different companies and different consoles and different events happening around the world during certain times influenced certain games and like killed off lines of other games and completely removed industries. You remember Betamax? Could you imagine them trying to pop off a video game? Yeah, could have happened had we kept Betamax for some odd reason. It could have also happened had we kept HD DVD instead of moving to Blu-ray. Quite incredible, that I will say. But yeah, what do you guys think? You've heard my thoughts, you've heard the article. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Drop your comments down below in this video, and let's continue the conversation there. And if you happen to be listening via the podcast, head on over to our Twitter account or YouTube account. Both are /TechNewsGadget. Moving right along, apparently some researchers developed some ultra-fast semiconductors. Well, how fast? Well, UK researchers have developed world-leading compound semiconductor technology that can drive high-speed data communications in the future. A team from Cardiff University's Institute for Compound Semiconductors worked with collaborators to innovate an ultra-fast and highly sensitive avalanche photodiode, known as APD, that creates less electronic noise than its silicon rivals. And I know that was geek speak right there, so unless you're like super nerdy, you have no idea what I just said, but I'll explain it. ADPs are highly sensitive semiconductor devices that exploit the photoelectric effect when light hits a material to convert light to electricity. So hopefully that explains it for you. What does that mean? Well, faster, super sensitive APDs are in demand worldwide for use in high-speed data communications and light detection and ranging LiDAR systems for autonomous vehicles. Yeah, you know, the self-driving ones? It helps out there, too. And data communications, which helps us, well, guaranteed push it faster than speeds of 5G and everything else. A paper outlining the breakthrough in creating seeming extremely low excess noise and high sensitivity APDs was published today in Nature Photonics. So I guess the article credited a bunch of people. Apparently they partnered with the University of Sheffield, California Nanosystems Institute, University of California, LA to develop the technology. So they're all excited about it. APDs have a wide range of applications in LiDAR or 3D laser mapping. They're used to produce high-resolution maps with applications in geomorphology, seismology, and in the control and navigation of some autonomous cars. Our findings can change the global field of research in APDs. The material we have developed can be a direct substitute in the current existing APDs, yielding a higher data transmission rate or enabling a much longer transmission distance, according to Dr. Shiyu Ji, the Sir Kimru Co-Fund Fellow, part of another group that also helped them out. So yeah, are you guys excited? We might finally get the vehicles of the future, faster, better. This is kind of, and if you're like, well, why is this news important? Well, think of it this way. This is the underlying technology that helps to build the stuff that we have 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So if you're wondering, well, how was this stuff developed? Well, I'm just giving you guys a brief snapshot so you can take a look and go, oh yeah, I remember back then that was covered, because you're not going to hear about this in mainstream news. So I figured I'd cover it here. So if you're not getting your important news, of which I consider this important, hey, here's your notification. Hit that subscribe button so that, well, you can be informed. I mean, mainstream media, regular news outlets, big time tech websites can only cover so much, and I seriously try to condense all of it. So I like bringing out the important, interesting, changing scape of technology and video games and stuff like that. So yeah, be taking a look at that. So hopefully that helps you guys out. With that out of the way, let's head on over to our next article. Okay, so Apple's at it again. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak says that most people should leave Facebook. So his advice is delete your account. The millionaire who co-founded Apple with Steve Jobs recently said that a lack of privacy is his main concern regarding the Menlo Park, California company and big tech in general. That seems to be the common problem going around. And I love the fact that, okay, I have to do a little bit of a rant here. I love the fact that Mark Zuckerberg goes, well, now we're more privacy based. Yeah. Now we are. I mean, we weren't before, but now we are. Now we want to be able to like sit in your living room and be your best friend, but like keep all your secrets too. And it's like, wait, you didn't actually do that. Yeah. Is there anything more I need to say about that? There are many different kinds of people, and some of the benefits of Facebook are worth the loss of privacy, Wozniak told TMZ, which spoke with the tech mogul at Reagan National Airport in DC. But to many like myself, my recommendation is, and to most people, you should figure out a way to get off of Facebook. Wozniak deleted his Facebook account back in March of 2018, shortly after news broke about the Cambridge Analytica data scandal. And while the United Kingdom's top data watchdog group concluded that Cambridge Analytica's use of Facebook's data was illegal under British law. So it seems like different governments have different rules in terms of different companies and what they can do and not do, and it varies. And therefore, the company, I think, my personal opinion, should figure out whether they're a publisher or a platform and then stick with it, because there are set terms for both within the context of how you define yourself as a company moving forward and how you front face with the consumers and the media. And then it makes it a lot easier for the governments to understand which side you're sitting on. You see, a publisher, think of it as the New York Times. They have an editorial board, and whatever doesn't pass through the editorial board isn't published, because if it was, they'd be held liable for what they published. Then if they're a platform, well, they're a platform, and the rules there are different, which means I can't be sued for somebody saying something stupid on my platform because they said it, and therefore they're liable, not me. And then you pass off that problem to, well, because it wasn't you to begin with. You're just a platform. So figure out what the heck you're doing, Facebook, and they'll figure it out a lot quicker. So I guess he continued on. He said, but everything about you, I mean, they can measure your heartbeat with lasers now. They can listen to you with a lot of devices. Who knows if my cell phone's listening right now? Alexa has been in the news a lot. So I worry because you're having conversations that you think are private. You're saying words that you really shouldn't be listened to and really not expected to, but there's almost no way to stop it, Wozniak said. During the TMZ interview, Wozniak suggested that the social network could offer a paid option that protects users' privacy. People think they have a certain level of privacy. Turns out they don't. Why don't they give me a choice then? Let me pay a certain amount and can keep my data more secure and private than everybody else, handing it to advertisers. Smart call there. But you've heard my thoughts on it. You've heard a little bit of a rant. And what I want to know is, what do you think about this? Are you going to delete your Facebook account? Post in the comments down below. Love to hear from you guys on this topic. Moving right along here, and before we do, ow, I just hit the microphone with my knee. Not that I needed to, I just had to close the window really quick. Okay, let me explain. It's summer right now, and my studio is right next to a window that is open because it's hot. And people like to walk by at night. I don't know why. I live in a neighborhood and people walk by at random hours, so... yeah, okay. I shouldn't have to explain much more. I already had to do enough of this when I was in Taiwan vlogging for you guys, and let's just say it made for a lot of funny reactions. It's up on YouTube. If you want to take a look, I got like hundreds of videos up there, but I never really got used to it, vlogging in front of crowds of people looking at you weird. Anyways, so we got some updates on Google Stadia. Apparently, Google last month announced Stadia pricing, launch titles, and other details about the house streaming and the whole service works there. An update to the official FAQ on July 3rd reveals even more about the controller, local multiplayer, and how to redeem later this year. And, well, the FAQ on Google support now details the sign-up process for Stadia this coming November. So we decided to look into that. So, one question that came up is my Founders Edition purchase tied to the Google account that I use at time of purchase, or can I switch accounts later? Their answer was you can use any personal Google account when you sign up for Stadia. We'll send you a redemption code to the email address associated at the time of purchase. You can then use a different email account when redeeming your Stadia redemption code. Another question, what happens to a game I bought if the publisher stops supporting Stadia in the future? Can I still play the game? The answer to that is yes. Once you purchase a game, you own the right to play it. In the future, it is possible that some games may no longer be available for new purchases, but existing players will still be able to play the game. Outside of unforeseen circumstances, Stadia will aim to keep any previously purchased title available for gameplay. Awesome point there, and I just wanted to take a minute to say, great, good job, Google, because we don't like the fact when we purchase something, movie, an app, unless the app is bad, or a game, especially digitally, and you happen to remove it down the road. It's almost as stupid as saying, hey, go out and buy a DVD, go out and buy a physical disc for your video game, but when the publisher doesn't want to support it anymore, or they want to pull it, say they pulled it from GameStop and you bought the DVD or the game at GameStop and GameStop isn't selling it anymore because the publisher pulled it, that would be like them walking into your house, kicking down your door, walking over to your game rack or your DVD title rack, and pulling it off the shelf and walking out the door as you watch them snap the disc in half. That's about as stupid as it is. You're like, I paid 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 for this stupid game. So, great job, Google. Right now, Stadia is opening up a world possibility for multiplayer gaming with the number of gamers being dependent on the games you're playing. Additionally, a Stadia account will support up to 4 Stadia controllers during local multiplayer gameplay. So, will the Stadia controller only connect via Bluetooth to phones and tablets, or can you also connect via USB-C? The Stadia controller uses BLE for setup and then connects via Wi-Fi for gameplay. You can also connect your Stadia controller to your phone, tablet, or computer with a USB cable plugged into the Stadia controller's USB-C port. And if you're curious which mobile devices, tablets, and phones will support Stadia 3 at Stadia. I was looking at 3. I already answered the question. Will support Stadia at launch. At launch, we will be supporting Pixel 3, Pixel 3a, the 3a XL, 3 and 3 XL phones for mobile gameplay, tablets running Chrome OS, and more devices will be made available in the future. So, yeah, there's the biggest questions that came up on the FAQ. So if you're curious about it, hopefully it answered some of your questions. I know I'm excited for once with this. I know that Stadia came out with a lot of mixed fanfare. I, for one, am on the more positive end of this, and seeing the answer, especially to the question, what happens to a game if I bought it and the publisher stops supporting it and removes it, can I still play the game? Yeah, you can still play the game. Thank you, Google. Thank you. Make good on that promise, okay? Because you're going to have a lot of gamers purchase because of that. Probably me. So don't go back on that. So, are there any questions that we happen to miss you maybe have about Google Stadia? Post in the comments or on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. Oh no. Well, IBM did it. They patented a watch that unfolds into a full tablet. I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at it on the screen right now, and if you're like, huh, what? Yeah, you're listening to the podcast right now, and what you should be doing is heading on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. We make all of our shows available there for your viewing pleasure. So, you know who IBM is, right? The world's largest tech patent holder and one of the most advanced innovation laboratories in the world. I should have said laboratory, just to sound cool. Heard some of you like foldable phones and asked someone to hold its beer while it invented this folding smartwatch that can go from a watch to phone to full tablet. I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at the screen right now. If it were some other company, they'd probably just laugh about this crazy contraception, but we're talking about Big Blue. These people don't joke around. Even while Apple and Google get all the headlines, IBM has been at the cutting edge of computing tech since the 50s. From the dominant mainframes of the 60s to the first successful AI to the first commercial quantum computer. The company is responsible for some of the most advanced innovations in history, and it seems they're not stopping thinking outside of the box. And I really, really like this option. I'm looking at this watch. This watch, okay, I'm going to call it right now. If they come out with this watch, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to go and look. I'm going to say, do I want the Apple Watch, this weird Android watch, or the IBM watch? I'm going for the IBM watch. I'm just going to tell you right now. But this patent published by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on June 11th, 2019 and unearthed by Dutch tech politician publication. I can't read. Publication, Let's Go Digital. Maybe a bit too much. The patent titled Variable Display Size for an Electronic Display Device describes a wristband device that looks like a watch. It has a rectangular display in portrait mode with no bezels at all. Now, get him off the screen. This stupid ads. Under the watch, there are 7 additional displays stored in compartments. While Let's Go Digital says that the patent doesn't clearly describe the unfolding or assembly process and how that works, IBM claims that users would be able to extend the area of the display from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 panels. 8 panels, each 3 by 2 inches. That's 12 by 8 inches at its maximum size. And at that point, your smartwatch is a tablet or a shield to defend yourself. Whatever works, but it's no Captain America shield, but you could probably John Wick it if you wanted it to. But now the question is, can IBM pull such a device out of its magical hat? Probably, but given their current focus on consulting, AI, and quantum computing, can't really see them releasing a consumer product like this, and the Chinese might do it first anyways, so we'll keep an eye on that, and seeing as how IBM finally made this headline, maybe Google and Apple, maybe even Facebook will go, hey guys, a lot of people have watches, right? What if we make that a phone? Or a tablet? Maybe both. Can we do that? Hey guys. Hello? Well, there you go. Alright, moving on to some gaming news. Call of Duty. Black Ops 4. You guys still play that game? I play it rarely, but I see other people play it, and I know it's still up there with, big boy games. But Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is about to go full zombie with its new Operation Apocalypse Z update launching tomorrow, July 9th. And if you're listening to this, it probably is July 9th, in which case, get ready to download it. And if you're on a PlayStation, you're probably already playing it. There have been hints of the undead's imminent arrival in-game already, of course, with players attempting to make sense of this environment changes that have been going on in Blackout mode. Now, though, Treyarch has fully revealed all the fresh news coming to Blackout, multiplayer, and zombie modes as its latest season unfolds. And we're going to recap it here for you guys. Zombies mode, for instance, gets a brand new campaign in the form of Alpha Omega, which sees Prima's and Ultima's versions of characters from previous missions joining forces to battle the undead in a newly reimagined version of Call of Duty's iconic Nuketown map. This new iteration is said to be 400% larger than original version of Nuketown, with a familiar 1950s suburban neighborhood now granting access to the Labyrinth Broken Arrow facility below ground, where prototype weapons have been developed, and some of which they teased in the trailer. If you haven't seen it, the link to it will be in the show notes that you can get by going to TechNewsGadget.net. Treyarch is promising new enemy variants as players explore the facility, as well as new weapons, including the ray gun MK2. There's also a new perk known as the Blood Wolf Bite, which summons a wolf called Luna to fight alongside players when activated. Multiplayer mode, for those of you who play, gets 3 new, well, mostly zombie-themed maps. Der Schatten is a larger map set in a snow-covered alpine town that sits in the shadow of the castle seen in Zombies mode map Der Eichendrache. Then there's Remnant, which unfolds within the Museum of Unnatural History, surrounded by atmospheric Louisiana swampland. Throughout the museum, combatants can find exhibits inspired by a variety of Zombies mode episodes, including A Chunk of the Moon, the bus and diner from Transit, a recreation of the Titanic, and a portion of the Asylum. So, multiplayer's mode final new map is Havana, which is inspired by the streets of Cuba, although notably less spooky than Operation Apocalypse Z's other maps. There's a nod to the undead theming via a cinema holding a zombie festival. Now, the mode also gets a new specialist in the form of familiar war robot Reaper, armed with a massive double-barreled machine gun known as Skith, and equipped with the Shroud ability, which can completely black out areas of the minimap to thwart opponents' prying eyes. Additionally, Treyarch has revealed a new party game for multiplayer known as Sticks and Stones. This score-based, free-for-all arms all players with an explosive crossbow, ballistic knife, and combat axe. Players can score big by killing opponents using the first 2 weapons, but a kill via the combat axe will immediately wipe out an enemy's score, instantly reshuffling the match leaderboard, making it a frantic skirmish as combatants jostle and swing to take down the current top player and climb the ranks. And ooh, yeah, I got a nice photo there of Reaper. A new version of gun game mode with the ballistic knife as the new final weapon and the return of infected are also due at a later date. Now, as for Blackout, and those of you who play, the main map will be split into 2 new versions. Both will receive a zombie-themed makeover, including the likes of boarded windows and rivers of blood, as well as atmospheric fog that reduces visibility. However, the fog will be relatively light for standard solos, duos, and quads playlist, with a special quads fog map featuring much thicker fog and substantially reduced visibility will also be available. Elsewhere, Blackout's second map is getting a new nighttime iteration called Alcatraz Nightfall. This will be the setting for Alcatraz Portal's Horde mode, which features substantially more zombies as well as enemies such as Hellhounds and the Warden. Don't get whacked by that guy. More Blackout editions have also been teased for later in the season, including a fast-moving, low-health motorcycle with a sidecar, wonder weapons, and Pandemic, a version of Call of Duty's Infected mode specifically rejigged to better suit the Battle Royale format. More details can be found on Treyarch's website. So if you're interested, Operation Apocalypse Z will launch tomorrow, July 9th on the PlayStation 4, and will be available on Xbox One and the PC at a later date. So hopefully not too much later, but usually seen as how the release dates coincide themselves, it'll follow shortly thereafter. So if you're interested and you haven't played Black Ops 4 in a while, well, it might just tease you right back into the game, or, well, maybe just play another zombie game mode. I don't know. Ooh, save the world on Fortnite, yeah! And speaking of Fortnite, well, Fortnite developers say they'll make the new Rubber Duck Challenge easier. Apparently, you guys, it's just a rubber duck. So, Fortnite's 14 Days of Summer event includes daily challenges for rewards, One of those challenges involves searching for a tiny rubber duck in a corner of the game's map. Yesterday, Epic announced that they'll be announcing the challenge because it's, quote, too hard. For the challenge, clues on a loading screen direct players to a bathtub in Paradise Palms, where they can find a small rubber duck. Finding and searching the duck earns players a unique lobby soundtrack, but it seems like the challenge is a little bit more difficult for players than Epic expected. Listen, guys, go to Paradise Palms, find the bathtub. There's a rubber duck sitting in it. Click the search button. You found it. You're done. Apparently, they tweeted the challenge is much harder to complete than we intended. We're working on a fix in a couple of days. Now, reasonably so. Searching the duck is tricky for several reasons. Since the challenge is new, a lot of players are trying to get it. Many players have found themselves in busy battles to be the first to reach the duck. These fights are made more tense by the fact that it only appears only one per person, per duck, per match. If you're not the first to touch down and grab the duck, you have to try again in another match. And apparently one user said on Reddit there was a mosh pit of people when I got there, and I was like the fifth to arrive. I tried 3 solo matches just now, and each time it was roughly a dozen people murdering each other. And the only time I did see was the third time around. I saw the duck and then realized it disappears once the first person searches it, rendering it unobtainable for everybody else. I love it. I love it. It's just driving them nuts. I think they probably did it on purpose, and then they went, I'll change it. Others complained or bragged about players breaking the bathtub, which makes the duck disappear without anybody getting it. Some players advise trying for the duck in one of the team-based or limited time modes, such as Team Rumble or Surfing, which is currently still up. These modes have less players, giving those who still need to complete the challenge a better chance. So, yeah, according to the author, they played a couple of matches. In the first match, duck was gone before they got to the bathtub. In the second match, they got it right away. It's possible the fervor is dying down a little bit, that the challenge has been around for a little while, or, well, you just got lucky, or they actually fixed it. And, apparently there's somebody here who had a video about how they did it. Epic hasn't said how the challenge will be changed, but players are expressing mixed opinions about it needing a change at all. Some appreciate that only one person can get the duck because it makes the challenge actually feel challenging. Duh. Others find it frustrating or, quote, unfair. According to the author, they found racing for the duck exciting, but I was lucky enough to get it on the second try. But however, if they had to try it over and over again, might feel differently about it. So we'll see if there's any tweaks that Epic makes to the duck in the coming days, and seeing as how the 14 days of summer event will be winding down very shortly here. If you haven't finished your challenges and you haven't unlocked all your stuff, be sure to get on that now so that you don't miss out on fun stuff that Wall of Loot provides there. I probably won't because I'm too busy doing this show, guys. You have no idea. No idea. I mean, I have to keep up with like a bazillion different things. This is my part-time gig that I do. So not to brag or complain or anything, but I wish I could play video games as good as you guys could. I mean, let's face it, when it comes to multiplayer games, I'm about average, but I enjoy Fortnite, and one of the main aspects that I guess keep me coming back to Fortnite is Team Rumble. So I'm very glad that they're keeping it in the game, because I can actually play the mode, and I can feel like I'm improving as a player, although I still get mad if I'm not getting above 20% hit rate. Still means I suck. I really need to improve my hit rate, which is really what I'm working on, because if I'm shooting too many bullets and more of them are missing than hitting, then apparently I'm not hitting right and I'm not making an efficient use of the bullets, and I really need to learn how to aim. However, when it comes to the shotgun, I'm starting to get really good with that, and a couple other guns as well. So don't fault me for that. I'm working on it, but you guys are probably a lot better gamers at Fortnite than I am. In which case, let me know. If you're streaming on Mixer or Twitch, I'd be happy to feature you guys or retweet you guys. So feel free to let me know on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the latest in tech news. Thanks for tuning in, guys. New episodes every weekday, and except for Friday, we might have a Friday special, but there will be a show every single day this week. The latest in tech news can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and everywhere else you can listen to a podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button down below and by leaving a comment. Also, double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. And before I go, be sure to head on over to podcastawards.com, sign up for a free account. It's free to register, and nominate latest in tech news in either the People's Choice or Technology category. We need those nominations coming in, guys. Those would matter a lot. We're going for an award here and the podcast awards, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated, and so would your nomination. Thank you in advance for that. I'm your host, Taylor Merrick. Remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.